Hello and welcome. Today, I have a fine art faculty from Malayaditi International School. Along with this, he is also a fantastic illustrator. Now you might think how he became a professional illustrator. So let's find it out across to him and talk to him directly how he became a professional illustrator. So a warm welcome to you, Mr. Venkatesh.
Thank you so much. And I would like to thank the Jyoti Libraries for inviting me over here.
So a very
Uh,
first question that students would like to know how you became a professional illustrator.
Frankly speaking, my love towards art actually started from the comics. It's the comics which actually attracted me a lot towards art. And I still remember, in those days, Tinkle, Phantom, Chacha Chaudhary, and all these comic books were very famous. And for me, the interesting part was I never read these comics, frankly speaking. I didn't enjoy reading so much, but I really loved the illustrations a lot in that. And copying these illustrations was my first, I would say, that was my first stepping stone towards learning art, I would say. And that's how my interest towards art started growing. Yeah.
So, tell us how an illustrator works.
Uh, Basically, to become an illustrator, after completing my school, I went to the fine art college where you're being taught with all the fundamentals of art, okay, such as drawing, painting, and use of mediums and everything. So the college always provides you a platform to learn, develop your skills, come up with innovative ideas, and also a platform to showcase your artworks. And after completing my studies, after completing my masters, I started working as a freelance illustrator for ISKCON. I also worked for a few of the ad agencies over here in Bangalore and few local Kannada magazines. So as I started developing my career as an illustrator, I also started learning a lot of other things apart from uh, the drawing and painting, which is the most traditional aspect of illustration. I also started learning that the new age illustrators also worked a lot on the digital platform,
Mm.
and from there I also started developing my skills in the digital platform. So today's contemporary illustrators mostly work on the digital platform.
Mm.
There's something called graphic tablet. So most of the illustrators use the graphic tablet and use different kind of softwares where illustrations are developed in the contemporary world today.
Mm. Uh, Mr. Venkatesh, can you just take us through a story of illustration, like which you have made?
Yeah, sure. Okay. This uh, this is a cover page that I'd worked for one of the comic books, which was based on the Zen comics, which has just been completed recently. It's still in the process to be published. And if you look at the illustration over here, basically it was first an hand drawing was done, and from there it was completed fully digital.
Wow.
So so this is a few pages from that comic book. Uh, so basically it's all first hand drawn, and after the hand drawing is completed, we scan the page,
Mm.
and then everything goes directly digital.
So, what are the resources that you use while drawing this?
Uh, See, of course, we do take references, okay, but most of the time, apart from references, it's mostly imagination.
Mm.
And the kind of process that I adopted a few years back was basically I used to do the hand drawing, and from there I would complete the inking, the outlining, the black outlining manually, and from there I would scan the page and then do it digital. But with the help of graphic tablet nowadays, I do everything fully digital. And but still, I prefer to plan my process of composition and drawing manually. So first, everything happens on paper with a sketchbook, and from there, it then moves to the digital platform. So if you look at this page over here, it's again based on the Zen comics. It's one of the small stories. It's a conversation between the teacher and the student over here, and this page was. If you look at this page over here, the black outlining is again done manually, and I use these nibs, the calligraphy nibs, for outlining my drawing.
Wow, this is really fabulous. Um, at times, I really feel that I should try this.
Now look at even over here the composition. What you see, the first composition was there was a small reference which I'd taken from, but then the next two panels, what you see is fully imaginative. So it's again a story based on the Zen comics where there's a student who gains pursues a lot of knowledge, and after that he moves on, saying that there's a lot of knowledge that still needs to be gained after becoming a master. So there's no end for knowledge. So the story was based on this, and the whole illustration was again completed manually. This is one more small story. You could say this story was mostly sharing my own experience. I would say, if you look at the story over here, where a person who's trying his hand in comics, trying his hand in illustrations without knowing what would happen further, but still it's his passion, it's his dream to become an illustrator, where he's working on that.
So you can say it's a graphical biography.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Now over here, this again, it's been completed manually and digitally over here. This panel, what you see over here. So the outlining was done with an Indian ink. It was scanned, and then the coloring was done on the digital platform. This was one of the commissioned works that I had done a few years back. It was a graphic. It was a novel, and this was a cover page which I had completed. This whole cover page, what you see is totally digital, and this cover page was completed. The planning of this cover page took me about almost about a couple of weeks to plan this cover page, but the cover page was completed just within a day. Uh, and this was done on Photoshop, where it included more than about 130 layers, where more than about 60, 70 photographs were merged together, and this illustration was created. So
Oh,
these are some of my works, how I work, and I do my work.
I didn't knew that. I mean, apart from Illustrator, graphic designers are also taken into this work, and they do all this work, add charm to it, and then we see a final. What do you say? Final picture.
Yeah, I think, see, the word illustration nowadays, what has happened is, once upon a time there used to be a person called illustrator. What I'm talking about the 2 decades back. There used to be people called as illustrators, but things have changed now. You don't get to hear as illustrators anymore,
Mm.
not so much, because as you just mentioned, nowadays it's mostly the illustrator come designer. Okay, so I draw, I create a illustration, at the same time I also design it. So you don't get to hear as called as illustrators, but you get to hear like character designing, or layout designers, or graphic designers, graphic illustrators, and so on. So that's, I would say, that is the new phase of illustration which has emerged in the last couple of decades. And mostly, most of the illustrations nowadays happen digitally, 90% of it. But if you look at the actual illustrators, of course, the final outcome might be digitally, but their basic planning still happens on the paper. You know, which I would say it's the academic training. Your academic training always, it plays the background role over there, where all your planning happens on the paper first, and then everything moves on the digital platform.
It is such a wonderful thing which I have got to know today. Now, my next question is that can one be a illustrator without a degree?
Well, yes, there are plenty and plenty of artists who have not been to an academic college, but of course, some sort of training is always required to understand the basic fundamentals of art. Even if they haven't been to an called fine arts college, okay, but still, if you look at them, they have learned it from some of the other artists. They have learned the fundamentals, and the fundamentals are very important for an illustrator, because the demand in illustration is, you need to have very good drawing skills, okay, to become an illustrator, because you need to depict a picture, you need to depict a story through pictures. So over there, what happens is your drawing skills have to be really good, and if your drawing skills have to be good, then your fundamentals of art, the basic fundamentals, have to be very, very strong. So only then you're able to depict or tell the story visually. So I would not say that yes, you need to go to an academic college, but you still need to have should have the knowledge of the fundamentals if you want to become an illustrator.
And I feel at times that one should have a passion regarding what you like, basically. If you like drawing, then you should have passion towards it.
100%, 100%. Because see, what happens is, like, I still remember when I decided to do fine art. Uh, the first question that was asked by my father is, "Are you sure? What will you do after doing fine art?" And frankly speaking, I had no idea. I'm talking about 15 years back. I had no idea what I would do. But it is the passion. You know, uh, Art came to me very naturally, and my mom is also an artist. So I went to the same fine art college where my mom had learned. So my mom's master was my master. So so that's how I think the interest was from my mom. I would say my mom was my first drawing teacher. I learned drawing from her, and from there I said, this is what I know, this is what I like, and I don't know what I'm going to do in my future, in my career, but I want to learn art. And that's how I went to the fine arts college.
That's why I think it's rightly said in Indian society that mother is first teacher.
100%, 100%. Because um, I remember that my mom never forced me to do art, but I used to see her painting, and that really inspired me a lot. And and after that, the comics. So all this together, this is what maybe I think built my interest towards art. And then so I went to the college, and now I'm here.
Mr. Venkatesh, can you just tell or suggest a few resources, illustration books that are known worldwide?
Well, it's very hard to say that these are the few illustration books that you need to refer, because what happens is there are thousands and thousands of illustrators around the world, and everybody works with their own styles. Okay. Uh, so it's very hard to suggest or pinpoint a book. But what I would suggest is, uh, it's important, as if you want to become an illustrator, it's very, very important that you start looking at books, you start looking at story books, you start looking at comic books,
mm,
You need to observe what kind of a composition is being created to depict a story,
mm.
and what kind of a visual narrative is created there, to how an artist has thought about the story and how he has depicted the whole story. So it's important that you start referring books, and with my experience, I feel that library plays a very important role,
Mm.
because even today, even now, when I create a composition, it's important that you need to get inspired, you need to have references, you need to come up with innovative ideas, compositions, and for all these, you need to look at images, you need to look at books, you need to look at art. And for me, it's endless. When I go to library, I look at a lot of books. It's not that I go and read over there, but I refer a lot of books. I keep looking at images, I keep looking at the layout design, I keep looking at the way the illustration has been created. uh, a lot of new methods, techniques are used in today's times to create illustrations. So I look at all these things, and library plays a very important role, because uh, I must not say this, okay, but I always see that library can do a lot for illustrators, if the library is able to showcase or display a few illustration works over there, different artists, which will inspire others also at the same time. And new innovative ideas come up when you look at visuals over there, because visuals is a universal language.
Mm.
So library plays a very important role in terms of shaping up the mind, and at the same time also inspires a lot of people and gives a lot of knowledge about illustration.
Correct.
So I think library is very important.
Mm. I remember when I started my career as a librarian, my first book that I referred was Pablo Picasso. So the books that I saw really, um, what do you say? I cannot get a very fine word for it, but it has really made my mind. It really motivated, and it excited me, so that I should know about what this illustration is, what is the world, how big this world is. And that that is how I started looking at different pictures. Whatever books I used to get, I used to see around the pages. I used to turn around the pages, and I used to watch. With this, I wanted to ask you one more question. That can you just tell me something more about different kind of illustrations that one does?
There are different kind of styles and approaches that every individual illustrator has. And if the illustrations can be divided into zones or countries, I would say the American comics has a different kind of approach. The Batman, the Superman, what we see, they have a very different kind of approach, styles of drawing. The Japanese manga comics has a very different kind of approach,
Mm.
whereas we over here in India have a very different kind of approach, where we still look at a beautiful line drawing with a flat treatment of application, and very decorative uh, art styles. So it's a different kind of approach that the artists have. Apart from that, there is also, as I mentioned before, there's also a traditional aspect where there are a lot of artists who still prefer to work manually. The most of the illustrations are created with watercolor.
Mm.
Whereas in today's times, there are a lot of young artists, young illustrators who prefer to work digitally, because it just makes things more easier. It's more faster, quicker to work on it, and it also gives you a good finishing, and it's easy to print at the same time.
So can you just give some message to the students?
Well, I would only say that it's of course today's time people do enjoy reading, but at the same time I would also say that please look around yourself. uh, it's a world of visuals, okay, and when you look at the books, please look at the features and that, look at the way it has been created, look at the style, the techniques that has been created. The art is always inspiring. It always gives you new ideas, new innovative ideas. Uh, so I would say that observation is very important, and observation around you plays a very important role to shape up and come up with new ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh. It was really nice talking to you. And I must say that I have got a first hand experience about the illustration. I have got, different aspects of illustration, different techniques that how a illustrator works. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.